I do want to move on and kind of breeze through these next couple before we spend a good chunk of time on our last story today. So this one's weird. So so this week, officers from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department shot and killed Robert Bido, age 37, while trying to serve a warrant 25 miles south of the capital city in Franklin for a series of charges related to a 2024 domestic violence case. Now, last Saturday, around 3:25 a.m., a neighbor's surveillance camera captured someone slashing tires in Bido's ex-wife's driveway. The person in the video moved toward the house next door belonging to Jeff Finkel before going out of view. Around 3:55 that morning, somebody shot Finkel dead. Later that same morning and as late as Monday, IMPD received reports from multiple neighbors on that same street reporting damage to their vehicles. On Monday morning, Marion County prosecutors charged Bido in connection with that 2024 case, which they had not done at the time for various reasons. And on Tuesday, while attempting to serve Bido, IMPD shot and killed the man in Franklin as they attempted to serve the warrant. Video from the scene shows officers approaching Bido, a truck driver. They show approaching his rig when the suspect reached his arm out of the window, prompting police to fire. A firearm was found at the scene. And though Bido was not named a suspect in Finkel's murder, he was a person of interest. Now, this is the second time in less than 2 months that IMPD officers have been involved in the death of a suspect outside of their jurisdiction. And that comes on top of another October incident where officers shot an unarmed man while serving a warrant. Jesse, this is IMPD. You are Indianapolis City Council. These folks are under your purview, so I want to get your thoughts on this story.
Appreciate that. Yeah, and I know, as a socialist who you could find a picture of me wearing a defund the police t-shirt from back in the day, people jump to assumptions about the way I feel about this. I will say that I think that officers of the IMPD are mostly good people who are in the job for the right reasons and are trying their best. That said, what is indisputable is the fact that although we fund Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department for 1,743 officers, we actually can't manage to get anybody in the door to work these jobs. We have the Public Safety Committee this month just said that we were down to, I think, 1,390 officers, so we're about 350 officers short. That's despite them having a first year pay of $85,000 with a take-home car and 6 weeks paid training. We're doing everything we can. We've over doubled officer pay in the last 10 years and still can't get enough people in to do the jobs. And it shows. There are a lot of people in my district who wish that someone would pull people over for running red lights and crashing their cars over and over again. So if we are in this severe officer shortage, which is real and is really happening, why the hell are we pursuing things outside the boundaries, right? I understand, yes, crime doesn't respect arbitrary lines on the map, but surely there are police departments in other parts of the state where this could be happening, and those officers can pursue this themselves. I just remain unconvinced that the way we currently do policing is fair to the officers, is fair to the community, is fair to the taxpayers, and obviously fair to the people who end up dying without, a trial. I don't think anybody should be presumed guilty. I believe, I've done trainings, like simulated firearm trainings and things like that, where I'm sure the officers were scared shitless, fear for their lives, and that's why they fired. But why are we throwing just fewer and fewer people just into repeated situations where they have their nervous system just basted in adrenaline and fear over and over again? Just like AI, this does a number on people, and it's really bad for everybody's health. We have to reimagine policing and figure out what situations require somebody keyed up on adrenaline with a gun and a badge, and what situations just require somebody with a clipboard and a questioning attitude, right? We can't keep going the way we have been before. It's getting a ton of people killed, including officers, and I don't think it's serving us anymore.
Yeah, and listen, say what you want about the suspects in both of these cases. This one, if true, if the crimes of which Mr. Bido was accused, if he did them, not a good guy. Likewise, the suspect in October where it was a police chase that basically wound up going into Johnson County. I want to say again, probably not a good guy, but there are ways to do these things. Law and order dictates you arrest your suspect, you bring him in, you have a trial. We don't need to turn our officers into executioners. That is probably not the way we should be doing things. Amy, can you comment on this story?
I actually think Jesse did a pretty good job of summing it up. He's obviously, as a counselor, much more involved in the IMPD conversation, but I would just echo everything that he said. It's not about defunding the police. That was obviously just bad messaging, but it's about reimagining and looking at, it needs to be like multiple tools in the tool belt and make sure that we're using the right one. We've obviously seen that a lot with mental health calls, so often resulting in, death, when maybe if instead of officers, there were, trained, mental health specialists to go in, could have had a different outcome, and we've seen some funding for that recently. So absolutely support anything that's going to help this situation overall, and also agree there's a lot of good people who are in the career as a police officer, and are trying to do the right thing and are in just incredibly stressful, difficult situations. And so we just need to be realistic about what we're doing and try to have, involve the community a little bit more and what the solutions could look like, and, do something different that's going to have better outcomes for the police, the community, suspects, everyone involved.
Yeah, thank you, Kurt. I don't know, like, how do we message this? Defund the police was not great. That didn't work. It almost
Bad choice of
backfired, I
words.
think.
Yeah,
Like,
bad choice
I
of
like to
words.
frame it as like save dudes with guns for dudes with guns shit.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I'm not familiar enough with the story down in Indianapolis or with the situation in Indy to, comment on this story. And I think Jesse did a great job, and Amy just, elaborated on it even better. So, but I live in a small community of 10,000, and I can tell you our police department is, a lot to be desired. So I think it's a problem nationwide that we have to address. And what is the exact problem? I don't know. It. I know my experience here where I live, and I come from a family who had an uncle who was a military cop and also a lifelong member of the Wabash City Police Department and a chief. Okay, so I've been familiar with law enforcement and people involved in it my entire life, and the Department of 1980 is not the Department of 2025. I'll tell you that much. It's a completely different situation. So. I don't know. I wish I had the answers. I think there's so many things that have to change. I do not believe in officers or the police department becoming involved in political issues, and that occurs in our city immensely. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, big time, and I just don't think that should be allowed. I mean, I live next door to a deputy sheriff who had never surrender signs in his yard for a year. Which I never will understand where that mentality comes from. So it's, but the problem down in Indy, what occurred, evidently, this is an issue with not having enough personnel. And I don't know why they're not getting people to fill the positions. Maybe it's because of the leadership that's involved in it. I don't know. I mean, if we paid attention to what's going on in New York City, one of the reasons or one of the excuses that this Mayor Adams used was that there was 17,900 and some positions open, and they couldn't get anybody filled for those positions. Well, our buddy Soren has 70,000 applicants. So why is that? people don't want to be associated with leadership? Is that, I mean, they want to be part of something that's going to change and better the society, or they, I mean, I think that has a huge, I mean, come on. He's got 70,000 up, and most of them are 26, and the average age, I think, was 26 years old. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what would happen if we had somebody like that come into, what if Jesse Brown became the mayor of Indianapolis? I bet those positions would get filled in a freaking heartbeat. Okay. And I honestly believe that. I think it has a lot to do with leadership, and people don't want to be associated with, bad leadership,
Yeah.
That's
There's
just
a
my
certain
feeling.
old way of
So-
doing things that people, they want to be a part of a good, positive change and not reinforcing the same old horrible system.